They just had their Series A investment and they needed someone to kind of come in and help them with product. I was sweating if everything would go well. 50,000 people was just a huge crowd. Where really my passion lies is just trying to help as many companies as possible.
Where are we moving right now as the whole software development industry?
I really don't know. Lovable is great for things a bit more like high level. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, can move so fast. I probably built 70% of my product in the first 2 weeks. And the remaining 2 months was basically fixing it and making sure that it was production ready.
You're watching Backstage Tech, a podcast for software founders, investors, and product leaders. Today's guest has spent over 20 years in the weeds of product and technology leadership, managing portfolios worth over 50 million per year in ad tech. He's launched products for Atlassian and Influencer.com used by multiple Fortune 500 companies. Founder of Raf Consultancy and a good friend of mine, Rafael Franco. Welcome, Raf.
Thank you so much, George. It's such a pleasure being here with you, in sunny Lisbon. And, I'm so happy with the way the podcast is doing. So, it's a privilege to be here with you. Thank you for your invitation. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for joining the Raf. It's been around 5 years as we know each other.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, we've been through a lot. Let's put it like that. I still remember when we met back in Kyiv, which was such a pleasure meeting you and Oleg over there. And, since we met each other, I just felt such a strong connection. And we've been working together for quite a while. And I really appreciate all that you and ProCoders have done for myself. So thank you.
Yeah. 5 years ago, I would never imagine that we would be sitting in a studio in Lisbon with this amazing view on the background and would be having such a conversation in front of a camera during the podcast.
Me neither. And, I certainly never expected that, all of you would move into to my home country, Portugal. But I'm really glad that you guys kind of found, your new home and that things are working out for you folks. It's really nice. And, the good thing means that every time I come here on holiday, we can hang out, spend some time together and talk some nonsense and some quite important things too. So now I'm really happy with that.
So I would like to start with an introduction of yourself. And I know that you've got a solid track record of over 20 years from Siemens in mid-2000s to Influencer.com and your own consultancy. Could you tell me more about this journey?
Absolutely. And it has been quite a journey for me. I like always to introduce myself, or this is a recent thing, but I like to introduce myself as a musician and a technologist. It's two areas that I'm obviously very passionate about. And from like a product and engineering perspective, my career, as you mentioned, started a long time ago here in Portugal. I finished my degree here, my computer engineering degree here. And I spent, good 4 or 5 years here working as a software engineer for Siemens and then for another consultancy company. But my dream was always to move to the UK. Yeah, that was always my dream. Why? Because it's such a great music scene over there. And even though I was an engineer, I still always dreamt about being surrounded by music. So I started applying to quite a few jobs in the UK. But obviously I didn't have much experience. I was kind of just starting out of my career. So, that opportunity never really came. But an opportunity came to move to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And and I decided to, give it a go. It was the first time I was going to move countries. It's a big challenge for me, a completely different culture. But I moved there, again, to continue my software engineering career. Moved to a company called Second Floor, a company really focused on risk management. And I just learned so much about different cultures. And it was such a great journey in Amsterdam. And I managed to basically climb the ranks to, software architecture. But, deep inside, I always had a dream of the UK. That was still kind of in my plans to do that. And at one point, I decided to kind of take sort of like a year off to go and study drums. It's the instrument that I play. I'm a drummer. So I thought, let me take 1 year off from Amsterdam, go to London. So it was always my dream. And, I want to move there, study for 1 year, and then let's see what happens. So I moved to the UK, moved to London for 1 year, studied super, super hard. I kind of have a bit of that, obsessive nature when I like something. And I thought to myself, well, I only have 1 year, so I better make good use of it. So I moved there and spent 1 year working really hard, trying to learn as much as possible. I studied at the ICMP. It's a great school, and had tremendous teachers, people that played with Madonna and all the other, sort of like famous artists. And so I loved it. And then I came back to Amsterdam. And after 6 months, I'm like, what am I doing here? I need just to move to the UK. That was always the initial plan, and always something that I wanted to do. And now that I've studied there for 1 year, I'm like, yeah, I want to go there and move there. So an opportunity came to join a company called Adaptivist. It was a, relatively small company back then, about like 30 people. And I was going to join to be the tech lead over there. So I decided, yeah, this is my chance. So I moved to the UK, left Amsterdam, carried all my stuff, and started to make a living in London. And very, very quickly, I think about like 6 months or a year after, the person that was responsible for products over at Adaptivist left. And I thought to myself, actually, I think I could probably do this. Because for me, it got to a point that the engineering challenge was not that interesting anymore. For me, it was more about understanding the concepts of the products and understanding how the business, relates with engineering and with products. So it became very obvious to me that this was something I wanted to go for. So I did it, and it was very successful. I spent around 6 years or 5 years with Adaptivist. Had a great time. The company grew massively. It's now, I think, like 1,000 people now, so it grew massively. I was very firm that was just something that not only I was actually doing it quite well, it was something that I truly enjoyed doing. So I thought to myself, this is actually really good because I can combine both the product and engineering side of things, and this is just the perfect combination. So after that, I've done some time on consultancy, and then I became VP of engineering at Unruly. It's a big ad tech company. They were doing very, very interesting things with ad tech. I learned quite a lot from it. Spent around like a year there. Company got bought, and then eventually I was kind of called and was recommended to work and come and join Influencer.com. They just had their Series A investment, and they needed someone to kind of come in and help them with product. So I did. I went there. Very quickly, I also took over engineering. So I was basically doing product and engineering leadership over there, working with the exec. Company was around same size, so 30 people, around that. And spent, 4 years with them. Launched 2 successful products, Waves Brands and Waves Creators. And as you mentioned, used by several Fortune 500 companies. It's just awesome. It's a very interesting space. Influencer marketing is growing a lot. It's one of those spaces that there's still a lot to do, and it's not yet discovered. So you're kind of trying to, make your way and trying to understand how things work. So that was very interesting. And when I launched Waves Creators was actually here at the Web Summit in Lisbon. So Casper Lee, one of the founders of Influencer, went on stage to present the product. I was sweating if everything would go well. Everything went really well, so that was really nice. So yeah, I was kind of in front of like 50,000 people. It was just a huge crowd, it was a big moment of pride for myself for launching the product. But as most things, they kind of reach their time. And for me, I thought to myself, things are going well, but I think where really my passion lies is just trying to help as many companies as possible that are kind of going through this phase of like trying to understand what they need to do, what not, what kind of things should their company focus on. So I decided to open my own company, Raf Consultancy, as you said, company that is focused mostly on fractional type of work. So I often join companies for a couple of days a week sometimes, or sometimes just purely advisory. So been opened my company, a year and a half ago. So it's quite recent. And I always think with these sorts of things, and particularly when you kind of get to a stage in your career, you've already done so many different things that, you kind of start thinking, well, I kind of want to do various different things to kind of keep me awake and keep me, excited about work and about life. And so very recently, I launched my own product. It's a product for bands. So obviously combining, my music love with my engineering and product. And it's the product is called AdsForBands. It's not officially launched, but here we are at the podcast talking about it. So AdsForBands is a product that allows bands to sell out shows. Okay? Most bands we're kind of going through a phase of bands being quite DIY and trying to manage all their things, business, marketing and all that stuff. And I had that experience with my own band. We're a touring band, Brain of J, for those that want to check it. Brain of J, my band, has been very successful and we tour quite a lot. And I thought, because I'm the one that basically manages the marketing for the band, I thought to myself, well, I want to build a product that really helps bands sell out their shows, because that's really what bands deserve. So I built it all myself. I did this on purpose because I really wanted to experience the whole AI revolution that is happening. So I built it all by myself, and yeah, I'm really proud of it. So yeah, it was a long answer, but hopefully you get an idea of my experience. Yeah.
Thank you, Raf. No, it's been an exciting journey.
Yeah.
So, AdsForBands.
Yeah.
I think this is something that differentiates you from other consultants, because you have your own product, and I know you for almost 5 years, and you've always been talking about your ideas, the prototypes, the MVPs.
Yeah.
So you're not just consulting other companies, you build your own stuff. So when was the first time you discovered that problem?
Yeah, this problem basically is a problem that I've been experiencing for 3 years myself. Again, I had to run basically all the marketing. I learned all about paid spend and paid media at Influencer. So I understood how important advertisement and marketing and publicity in general and ads, it can really be the make or break for a band and any business really. And like we're going through an era that so many people are just constantly on social media and always consuming. So you need to try and reach out, those folks as best as possible. So when I started doing this around like 3 years ago for my band, and I started doing it, we started selling out quite a lot of shows, and I'm like, oh, this is great, this actually works. So we grew quite a lot as a band. We started playing, small venues like 80 people, I still remember that. And now, next year we have several gigs booked for like 2,500. So it's completely different ball game. It's been like tremendous growth for the bands. And also, a testament that, marketing and advertisement works. So at the beginning around like April this year, 25, I had a bit of like a downtime on my consultancy gigs. So I thought to myself, well, I've been doing this for my band for a while. It's working. Would other bands want it or not? Okay. So I started by testing like the hypothesis of it. So I started basically just reaching out to quite a few bands and say, hey, I do this with my band. I do it quite successfully. Are you interested? Purely like managed services. I really had nothing. I basically had like a spreadsheet with my sort of pseudo model of, when do you start your campaign, how much you're going to need to spend. So I reached out to quite a few bands, and like, honestly, the reception was huge. And I started kind of getting swarmed by bands that wanted my help with it. Because, I feel for the bands. Like, they're not supposed to know this stuff, but they're kind of forced to because they can't really afford to pay someone to do it. So they're forced to. But, these people were basically interested in having me doing the campaigns for them. So I started basically doing these campaigns for them successfully. And so at one point I had 10 bands. Okay. And I'm like, this is a lot of work. And it was just, it was not sufficient income that would justify me doing this personally. So I started winding down the band at that stage. I thought, well, this was great. There's clear demand for it. But at the same time, it just takes too long. So I started winding down. So now, I'm basically just doing it for my own band again. And then I started to think, hold on, but there's clearly a need for this. Certainly, bands would be interested in having help. At the same time, they can't afford it. And at the same time, I can't really scale it unless I start hiring people. So it was kind of like brewing in my mind. I was just chatting with people. And sometimes this is the other thing, just find it so helpful. Just chat your ideas with people, So I started chatting with quite a few folks. And I started kind of, the idea started formulating on my mind, maybe I can actually make a product out of this. Maybe bands would be interested in using some sort of like platform that can help them and kind of coach them into what do they need to do to sell out the show. So around 3 months ago or so, it was like end of August, I started, playing with the idea of like, let me kind of create something. And I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to go and try out all the AI tools out there that can support development. So, because I thought, well, I've never played with them. It's a good excuse to it. And I love kind of trying things out. And I feel like this is just for me. But for me personally, I feel that I need to have an objective to try something out. I'm not the type of person that I'm just going to play with things. Some people are. It's just not my thing. I need to kind of have an objective. So I thought, well, I kind of have an objective now, so I'm going to go and play with it. So I started with Lovable. That's what I started with. And I was just like completely blown away because, you could just like spin out a landing page in no time. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, can move so fast. And then very quickly, very rapidly, you realize that Lovable is great for things a bit more like high level. So it's great to kind of give you that kickstart. But then let's not forget that I have my engineering background. So I'm like, how scalable this is. Because in my mind, I'm like, if I'm going to build something, it has to go into production. I'm not just going to build something. Because in a way, I already had tested the hypothesis before when I did my own managed services with the bands. so I basically started, synchronizing with GitHub, and then I moved away from Lovable into Cursor, which is mostly what I use right now. And yeah, essentially I built all the product myself using Cursor mostly. Now, the interesting thing is I can tell you that I probably built 70% of my product in the first 2 weeks. And the remaining 2 months was basically fixing it and making sure that it was production ready.
Like a Pareto principle.
Yeah. So that's what happened. Like, to get something production ready is difficult, and there's so many considerations you need to take. Things like payments, security, compliance, all that type of stuff. So, it's debatable if this is vibe coding or not, because there's a lot of like engineering work and skills that had to go into it. But for me, and yes, I could have gotten help, but I wanted to go through it because I wanted to experience it. And I wanted to move fast. And if I had other people helping me out, that means I would have spent more time, because you need to tell them what they need to do, exactly. And they need to check. And in my case, it's almost that I was writing the requirements and I was implementing them at the same time, which is like, wow, this is some cool stuff. And in a way, I kind of did everything wrong in the book, because in a way, I kind of skipped the MVP. I was like, this is going so fast, I'm just going to build a full-blown product.
I was about to ask, what was the MVP?
Yeah, I mean, the MVP initially was like, have a very basic calculator that tells you how much a band needs to spend, and then a very rough plan on what do they need to do on ads managers to follow the campaign. But the more I was playing with it, the more I kind of was getting excited about it. Oh, this is cool. This is really nice. And like, I'm moving so fast. So I just thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to skip the MVP. I'm going to go straight into it. In a way, I know the hypothesis works. And by all means, the product is certainly not finished. There's like I have a huge roadmap of it. But yeah, it's out there. So, check it out. AdsForBands.ai. So I'm really happy with it.
That's so unexpected to hear that you skipped the MVP stage, because that's in my understanding, that's one of the main rules to launch something small.
I know.
Test that it works, but you already had it proven.
You are right, and like I shouldn't even be saying this, right? Because like we should be, we need to talk to founders to say, you need to do your MVP. This is wrong in many ways, but it's a very particular, specific situation. I think that's the point, because bear in mind that I am a product person with a lot of experience. Yep. So, in a way, I already had validated many of these points before. So, you can even argue that I already had the MVP before, which was my spreadsheet.
Yes.
That probably was the MVP at the end of the day, like if I look back. But I was just excited about it. It's just cool to build stuff. I love building stuff. I love the strategy bit too, but I just love building stuff. At the end of the day, yes, I'm a product person, very experienced one, but I'm an engineering by nature, and I just love building things. And so yeah, I was just excited about it. I still am. I just love building stuff. And like the other day, I was at the dentist. My aunt was there. It was her turn, and I'm like, I'm just gonna fix some bugs. And that was it. I grabbed the laptop, fix some bugs, push them into production, job done. And it's just cool. Yeah. But I built a full test suite. I've audited the security of it massively. Payments were a bit of a pain to single sign-on a bit too. But it was just fun. I just learned so much. Like, we could talk for ages on the lessons that I learned. Would I do things differently these days? And I certainly would, yeah.
I noticed one thing that you mentioned. The MVP and the spreadsheet. And you said it was a basic sort of calculator that was doing the work. I was expecting to hear something about an AI model that would define the perfect strategy for a marketing campaign on Meta. Is it a calculator? Is there a real math behind? How does it work under the hood?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And interestingly enough, quite a few bands asked me that same question. So they were interested to understand a bit better. So let's not forget that AI is great at adapting and processing information, but not good at like making conclusions without data. In my case, I clearly decided that my model was going to be ultimately my secret sauce. And I wanted this model to be based on my own experience as a touring musician, as a touring band, and one that basically sells out shows. So the model that you see today at AdsForBands has no AI in it whatsoever. It's all my own formula. And it's a formula that took a lot of tweaking. Because as you can imagine, like selling out a massive show is different than selling out like a small grassroots show. It's different. And it may even have some of the same variables, but it's just different. Obviously, the bigger the show, the more you kind of need to spend to convince people because you have more people you need to convince. So, yeah, it was just very different in that sense. So, no AI in it. Now, where I think AI can really, really help in the future, particularly when it comes to the model, is to do it when more bands start using the product. I'm like, great, I'm going to have all this information from all these different venues. I need help in processing it and understanding behaviors of people on specific venues. Like say, when people come at the O2 Manchester, they behave in this way. Or we had 10 bands that ran a show there. Okay, now I have the data for those 10 bands. So I think AI will be great in the future when it comes to like processing massive amounts of data. The model itself is not AI, no. On purpose, yeah.
So, given that the user of the platform is a member of a music band, and I would assume these users are not really tech savvy.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how is the product built in terms of the steps that a user needs to take from step one, I have a problem promoting my show, to the final step, I have a plan of what I need to do.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right, which is, I had to build the product having musicians in mind. As any other product that you build, you need to keep your personas always in mind, because that will influence the language that you use, that influence the user experience. And you really need to put yourself in their shoes. So yes, I'm a musician, that helps tremendously, but I'm also a product person. So like, I'm probably not like the exact persona that I'm building. So it's not necessarily I'm just building this for myself. So I had to think about, I think particularly the language that you use. It needs to be quite high level, because, musicians don't really care about marketing jargon or any of that. They just care about like, okay, am I going to sell out my show or not? What do I need to do? So I built in a very like sequential manner that, a band logs in, they create their own campaign, and that will walk them through loads of steps into saying, tell me about your show, basically. When is the show happening? How many people do you want to, put in the venue? How much are you going to charge per ticket? What's the location? And that will essentially make use of that information and pull information also from various sources like Ticketmaster, for example, to say things like, oh, okay, you're playing a show in London. That's great. You have a lot of density of population. But on the flip side, there's loads of venues. So you get a lot of competition from it. Together with it, you also need to understand things like how many events are going to happen or how many concerts are going to happen on that same day from that same genre. So, you're putting it in a rock show and you want to determine, how many rock shows are going to happen on that day because you're going to have more competition. So all that stuff is going to play a part on how much you need to spend or not. And whenever bands kind of walk through those steps and they see how much you need to spend, and then I have like a nice sliders to say, oh, you want to spend more, means you're going to get more results, so you're going to sell more tickets. So I had to put it in very like simple language. And then what I do once I get the plan, so once they complete, they say, okay, I'm going to spend, let's say, £200 on a ad budget for this gig. Then, the system will compute a series of phases. Can be 2 phases or 3 phases if it's a bigger show. And what I do is I walk the user through a series of videos on how to go on Ads Manager. Now, bear in mind that I have all this contextual information because they fill in all the details for the gig. So they can literally just go in, copy paste that stuff, put it on the platform, on Ads Manager, and that will basically do all the work for them. So it really abstracts them understanding, because also the other thing is Meta's algorithm is changing all the time. It's an ever-changing thing. The interface is also changing, and it's just another stuff that they need to keep on top of it to understand what's best or not. So I want to say, you just focus on making music, and you let the platform do the work. So that's really what I thought of doing, and this is what the platform is all about: is making it as simple as possible, and try really to get rid of all the complexity. And I truly think that in the near future, we're kind of going through a phase in the music industry where, bands just have to go, and just do most of the things themselves. So I really believe in a future that bands are kind of equipped with, sort of like a, package or pack of technology that they get that can help them sell out the show, do their merchandise, all that stuff. Because right now it's, bands have to try and make their way and try to understand what works or not. And, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. Yeah.
I really love the fact that you're speaking to the audience in their language, because the bands, they don't care about these ROI, CTR, or all these tricky abbreviations, right? And they just want to say, I have a gig in Manchester next Friday. It's gonna be grunge. It's gonna be a rock show, and the venue has 200 people, 200 capacity, right? And they want to understand how much it will cost to run this campaign. That's it.
That's basically it. Because even when you go to Ads Manager and you're like running a campaign, and you look at all the stats, that it's just like you need a degree to interpret all this, like click-through rate and landing page views and the budget, and like bands. I get asked this all the time. Like, I want to know if my campaign is doing well or not.
Exactly.
And if not, what do I need to do?
I think that's the main trick that Meta does in the admin. You don't really understand what's going on there unless you're an expert in it.
Exactly. And like, what do you expect? What people running the campaigns? Yeah, maybe, if they're a marketing agency, yeah, sure. But, for like small bands or smaller acts that they can't afford a marketing agency, they're not going to know what's best. So I want to also have in the platform, is kind of in the pipeline or roadmap, that you just download all that stuff from Meta, you upload it on the platform. The platform will basically tell you, yep, good, you're on track to sell out.
Right.
No, you're not on track to sell out. This is the stuff you need to do. That's it, right? So make it really as simple as possible, yeah.
Super. The story sounds too positive to me. So let me read one of the quotes I found online. It's your quote.
Okay.
I strongly believe in just do it approach, instead of debating for ages if something should be done or not. As Agile says, fail and fail fast. So I wonder, was there any moment during building AdsForBands where you failed, and how was it?
There were loads. I mean, believe me, there were loads. I think particularly because I was inexperienced with using tools like Cursor or AI. I think that was part of it. I remember, for example, that I was getting to a point that I was fixing something and then something else was breaking. And I'm like, then I go and fix that other thing. The first one breaks. I'm like, God damn, like what's going on? And then I was like, well, I don't even have a test suite. Probably should have a test suite. So went on and build a test suite, fine. And then I'm like, okay, let's now look at the code. Because again, bear in mind that a lot of this stuff, it was kind of happening in the background. So I looked at the code. Oh my God, like some of the components that I built on React were huge. I mean, like massive, like 300, 400 lines. I'm like, God damn, I need to do something about this. So then I made like probably the single hand, biggest mistake you can make with AI, which is, okay, look, I have this problem. Can you go and help it refactor? Say, yeah, okay, I'm going to refactor. Great. Okay, cool. So I let it refactor. Okay. And it probably took around 3 to 4 hours to refactor the whole thing. And I'm like, this is great. I can do other stuff. This is doing the work for me. Great. When I then went to check, it pretty much changed everything. It changed the interface. It changed the model. It changed everything. I'm like, what has just happened? Because I was just too confident. I was just too confident it would be fine. So, there's one, probably like if you ask me what's the biggest mistake you can make, is just being lazy. You have to be careful. Can't be lazy. So you always need to check it. So now what I do is, okay, create me the plan. He creates the plan, and then I go literally step by step. Okay, let's start with step 1. Okay, it's kind of like what you would do if you have a junior developer that is talented but still junior. That's kind of how you have to treat it. So, okay, let's go step 1, and then you verify step 1. Is it good? It's like, great. Okay, are we ready for step 2? Cool. Okay, let's go on step 2. That took a long time, and there were times when I was building the product, I'm like, God, this is not going to work out. That I thought maybe I just need to find someone to actually help me out. Because it was just too difficult. Like the stuff was just breaking all the time. And it was pretty devastating that I spent all this time refactoring. Then I literally had to go back to the beginning of before the refactoring. Fortunately, I tagged the branch, but so I basically had to go all the way back and start from scratch on the whole refactoring.
Really?
Yeah, I had to start from scratch on the refactoring bit, completely from scratch. But, it taught me a lesson, and now I just do things quite differently. And I think that's part of the process. If I was going to build a new product, it would be much easier in that sense. I just learned loads, like how to set up payments. Like I've never done something like that from the ground up. So I'm really happy I did this. But yeah, there were times of desperation. No doubt about that.
I feel like it's totally disrupting the software development industry right now, because instead of hiring a developer or going somewhere to find one, you just have an AI model and you say, hey, write me your plan. What are you going to do in the code? And then you say, okay, let's start with step 1. And then you as an experienced engineer, you just check what's going on. First with the plan, and second with the results of each of the steps. What do you think in general, where are we moving right now as the whole software development industry?
I really don't know, because we're still quite early and things are evolving so quickly. It's hard to know what's gonna happen. I can tell you that if a company is not using any sort of AI to help support their engineers, they're not being very effective. Okay. However, I think it's so important that companies start also defining guardrails on how these tools are used, and particularly how the code is being reviewed and checked. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the same situation that I did, because I just stressed it too much. So I think that's one of the points. And I think certainly one of the places we're moving is engineers have to be very product aware. you can't just have that kind of like stereotypical engineer that just does the engineering work and that's it. That's not going to fly anymore. Those people are really going to be jobless. I mean it. So if you don't start thinking about the products, it's kind of what I consider, or what I would call, product engineers. You know, people that not only have engineering skills, but truly can contribute to the product. I'm like, I think we should do this, or this technical decision will have an implication on the products on this and this manner. So I think this is really where we're going. I don't think engineers are going to go anywhere. I think they're fine, but they will need to shape and, you know, be different in that sense from like the, you know, typical stereotypical way of working. I think it's just going to change the game completely, you know. But I think typically with these sorts of things is you have two camps: people that are excited about AI, people that are afraid of AI. I'm on the excited camp. I love it. I think it's great.
I really like the term product engineer.
Yeah.
Which perfectly explains how the industry is changing right now. Because nowadays, I feel like you no longer need the whole team to, let's say, to do a product discovery. You just use AI tools to write these PRDs. You tell it about the users, you tell about the problems, or maybe you just import the recordings of the video calls with the clients that have those problems, and then you let AI assist and document everything, and then the product engineer, as you mentioned, reviews everything, and after that, the same person is able to implement those features. Is it the way how you see it?
That's how I see it, yeah. But not just like implementing, it's like they will make suggestions as they go along. And I think this is really the key here. You know, the best engineers that I've worked in my career had the product engineer mindset, which they would actively like make suggestions. Hey, Raf, I think we need to change this, and that. I'm like, okay, well, tell me more about it. Instead of just focusing purely on the engineering work, they're kind of like one step ahead. And I feel this is also important that I mention this, which is this has nothing to do with experience. This is a mentality thing. It's the attitude towards work, that you actually care about what you're building. You're not just there executing some work, because the AI will be able to build. Build will be cheap in a way, but you know, the value is like, what do you build? Like, why are you building? Why are you building? You know, who are you building this to? That's what the value is. And product engineers are ones that understand that. So they have the engineering skills to, you know, support that. But ultimately, they're people that think about products. Those will be doing very well. I actually think they will do better than they are today, because all the building complexity. And look, even if you think about ultimately where we are, even before the whole AI revolution started, there were already like frameworks and things like that developers were using that just abstract, you know, a lot of the complexities of the language. And loads of developers these days only know how to use the frameworks, not the actual language. Now, you may think, you know, the purists will say, oh, that's really bad, you need to learn. But it's changing so quickly that it's almost impossible to even have time to it. You know, back when I started, Java was all the thing. And there were barely any frameworks at the time. So you had time to learn how the language actually operated. Which was great, but just not a very effective way of working, because that's why frameworks are so important.
Sure.
So I see AI as just kind of another framework that you can apply on it.
That's an interesting view.
Yeah.
Do you think programming languages will still exist in the form they do today?
I don't think they will, no. I think they will be just so abstracted at one point that it just doesn't matter. The reason, take like my experience building AdsForBands, which is a lot of the things that I had to fix it. I only had to fix it because AI was not good enough. But you will become good enough. and then it's not about that.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what's going to happen? It's actually, I find it remarkably difficult to predict what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You may even end up in a situation where SaaS platforms will just cease to exist because you just can build your own custom made very quickly. So why would you? I'm already doing that to a certain extent. I'm starting to build things that I'm not happy with any SaaS platform out there. I'm just going to build my own version just for myself.
Yep.
So maybe that's what the future will entail. I don't know. But yeah, it's just hard to predict what's going to happen, I guess. But I'm excited about it. As I said, I'm really excited about it. I think it's awesome. And I think, go and try it out, play with it, get excited too, like I did. And it will open a world of possibilities. I know a few leaders that recently tried out, things like Claude, Cursor and whatnot. They were like, oh my God, this is awesome. I told you this is awesome. Just go and play with it. Have fun. Just have fun building stuff. But, on the flip side, maybe going, a bit of a tangent, but the problem with this, with where we are right now, which is because everyone is able to build so quickly, we're kind of ending up in a situation where you have too many things out there. It's almost that we're getting into a Spotify of apps sort of problem, which is you have so many. How do you discover which ones are truly good? The ones that are truly good are the ones that actually do solve problems. Because, you go like on vibe coding subreddit, and it's very funny because a lot of people build stuff and they're like, oh, I just built this. I don't really know who is it for. And I'm like, well, that's literally the beginning of what you should have done.
Right.
Because people just don't understand how you build products. And, I think it was one of the articles you wrote on LinkedIn about it, that I'm like, yeah, you have to first kind of focus on the problem statement. Like, who are you building this to? What are the pain points? Is there value in this product or not? And now we're getting to a problem that founders, because it's so quick to build, they're like, yeah, that's all good, but let's just build. They get anxious about it because they just want to move quickly. And you need to respect that you first need to validate it, because otherwise you're going to end up building something that no one likes or no one even needs. And that's a problem. So I think more than ever, you need to focus on the why and the pain points. That's really the important bit.
What I always say about it is first get your customer's signature on the contract.
100%.
Before you start even wipe coding anything, because even when you wipe code, you spend your time, you spend your team's 100%. Time, then you spend your potential customers' time on presenting stuff. And if you didn't validate it before you started, it's just a waste of time.
100%. You're absolutely right. Yes. So I think now more than ever, actually you need to go through the steps. Yeah.
So you mentioned SaaS, and I agree that in the future and even today, it's already changing the perception of it, because I follow founders on LinkedIn. I work with founders, and I see more and more posts on LinkedIn, let's say, where these founders tell about, oh, I just built a CRM. I just built a tool for myself and I didn't buy it somewhere. I just spent $20 and that's the product. So it's absolutely true that it's happening. And these are not just random guys. These are actually my clients, which makes me scared a little bit.
Well, I don't know. So this is where I get a bit conflicted, which is, yes, like you see all these posts like, oh yeah, I built this stuff, or I've done this super quickly and blah, blah, blah. That's all good. But are they actually going to maintain it? Are they actually going to implement features on it that are actually useful? For what? To save $20? I mean, I think you need to really evaluate and understand if it's what you want to do or not. And as I said, bear in mind that I have quite a lot of engineering skills. if I didn't, I would have hit the wall and I wouldn't be able to continue. I can guarantee you that. There's just no way. If you don't have engineering skills, it's not going to happen. You can progress something, but you're gonna be faced with like, this is not working and I need help because I just don't know what to do. I know because again of all my background, so I'm very versed in that, but most people are not. So then you want to build features, they build this CRM and oh, this is great. And then good luck building all these features, because the more stuff you're going to put into it, the more complex the code is going to get, the less maintainable it's going to be, the more it's going to break one thing, break another. Do you really want to spend your time doing that? Because ultimately, time is the biggest currency.
Yep.
So now, where are you going to spend your time?
Exactly. I recently spoke with one of the senior engineers on our team with Pro Coders, and he was telling me about the feature or even a module that he built for one of the clients, and he used Cloud Code for it. He said, dude, it's 15,000 lines of code, 15,000. And he said, we build it with Claude. First, that engineer spent 3 hours on the architecture, just on the architecture. And then another 4 hours were for Claude actually to code it. Then I asked him, okay, how much did you refactor after? He said, I just gave it to testing.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
It passed the UAT.
Yeah.
And it's already in production.
And I think this is the thing, because like we need to understand like what is the definition of something that is production ready. I am confident my product is proper production ready because I just spend a lot of time ensuring that things execute. And I'm sure there's going to be problems and I'll need to fix them. That's part of it. But because I know that you can't put a product out there for me that is not proper production ready. So, I have basic things like, proper DevOps pipeline. I have my staging production environment. I have backups. All that stuff is in it. Because, I want to put something out there that I'm proud of, but that I can consider that it is production ready. Otherwise, it's just a beta testing, which it would also be fine, but that's not the case. So in the case of that engineer, that's not production ready code in my books. So, it's just something that you can put out there to test, which there's validity to it, but you can't really say that it's production ready because then it's not refactored and, probably hard to scale or whatnot. So I think this is where we just need to be very, very careful because I'm scared of like all these people just building things. They think it's production ready. Clearly it's not. They put it out there, and where is this going to end up? And the more obviously you grow the product, and the more you expand it, the more you need to be careful about these things. As we all know, things like technical debt, compliance, security is crucial because you're messing with people's data. You don't want it to be accidentally leaked or have API access points that are just open. Those sorts of like basic things.
So do you mean we're just moving faster, but we're still in need of real engineers at the wheel?
Yeah, 100%. Because like it's I'm telling you, it's not going to work. It's okay to prototype, but I was discussing this on LinkedIn the other day. It's like I was explaining my case, and people were basically saying that what you've done is not vibe coding. Not in the traditional sense, because you actually looked at the code, and like traditional vibe coding means you just vibe. You actually don't care about the code at all. That wouldn't be a production ready environment. So like, again, I double down as a product person and an engineer. If I didn't have the engineer, I would need to get it. Otherwise, it's just the risk is too high, and if you want to put something out there, and you're taking people's payments and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I think you should probably have someone check it, someone that has proper engineering skills, not just from an architectural point of view, but do a proper security audit, maybe. That's kind of like the bare minimum of it. But I think it's also fine that you say, look, it's probably not going to be great from like a technical debt perspective, but I just want to put it out there, going to see if there's traction or not. Sort of like an MVP, probably I would say a bit more beefed up than an MVP. And then I'll probably commission this to, to an agency or to a software development company like pro coders. And that's fine too. Just don't call it production ready, because like it's not really production ready.
Right.
Bear in mind that my product at the end of the day is a rather, simple product as it stands today. I think inevitably I will need to find, a company like ProCodes that helps me. I don't think it's not doable. I'm just enjoying the process of building. So I'm going to continue doing it as far as I can go. But I know for sure when it starts picking up and I start having thousands and thousands and thousands of bands, then the responsibility is even higher. So then I need not only to just trust myself, I need to bring partners that truly understand, that can work with me to say, we need to do this or we need to do that. We need to focus on this. Because you'd be very naive to think that I know it all. I just don't. I mean, I'm just winging it at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because as a founder, you will be focusing on the vision, on the strategy, on what we're building next. And you will eventually need someone to keep maintaining the software
100%.
And building actually the features that your users need.
Like any company, like you would grow any company. The difference is that before you need to have the software partner probably involved from the very beginning. And now you can postpone that and get them involved at a later stage so that you can test your hypothesis. Or kind of like in my weird way, I'm kind of like sitting in the middle because I've already done a lot of the engineering work myself. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to go anywhere in that sense. It's just the model and the way you operate is different. I still want to, if the company really takes off, which I believe it will, I really want to keep it very lean because I like the whole mantra of having a small team of capable people and getting stuff done quickly. I think a lot of companies get lost because they just grow too much. They think that's just the way to go. And I think we're seeing more and more companies not being judged by the number of personnel that they have. Because like you have super like successful companies like Telegram, for example, that are turning like billions in evaluation, and it's a team of 10, 20 people. I mean, so it's possible.
Yep.
And I believe in that. That's how I want to build a company anyway. Yeah.
So what makes you so excited about keeping the lean, let's say?
It's just moving and adapting fast. So it's not just building fast. It's more like if you need to change things, he doesn't have to go through a big chain of commands before stuff gets done. That's why I work mostly on like early stage companies, because when it gets to a stage that is too big, I'm like, we're not moving fast enough. This doesn't interest me at all. I'm gonna move out. I'm gonna move on to do other things, to help other sorts of companies, because I just lose the interest. I just don't understand why that the case is, because you would imagine from like a logical point of view is, you have more people, you can produce more. That's not what I see. It's just not my observation, because then you just have so much stuff in the middle. So many people need to approve something before it even gets done. That I think it just kills in many ways the way things move fast. But I think it's important that we distinguish between moving fast and doing the right thing. Like for me, moving fast means you can adapt faster to things. So if I see that a lot of bands love a feature, I want to talk more about it. I want to discover it more, and I want to adapt the product. I want to build this product particularly, it's built by a musician for bands and for venues that operate on on the music, on live show business, like I want to build it with them. So I want to get the feedback and want to feel that they're part of the process. They can help shape the product. Yes, I'm the ultimate person making the decisions, but I want them to be a part of it. When you get too big, I think you lose a bit of that personally, but it's just my opinion. I just always preferred working in early stage business up to Series A. When it gets too big, I just don't think it's very effective. So I tend to lose interest. Yeah, just my style.
So validating fast is the key. I've been working with the founder of a company that has a software product. And I remember every time we would speak about a new feature, he would say, George, we're going to deliver it on Monday. And it was Friday night. But I believe, validating fast is the key. And it's more important than just to build something fast. Because
and I think important to say that, you can build and validate at the same time. It's not that I also don't necessarily agree with let's spend 1 year validating so then we're sure we're going to build this, because you're never really sure. You have just to put it out there. But there's some basic levels of validation that need to happen, because that's not just going to save you time. It's because if you're constantly changing and pivoting every month, that also makes you look silly. Makes look, you don't really understand the market. You don't really understand what you're doing. So I think that's bad too. So I think it's always about the balance that you need to find between validating and building. But the problem with all AI tools, because building became so quick. So let's just build. And then, you build something and people are not super impressed by it because you just decided to build too quickly. So, yeah.
So what would be your advice for somebody who's about to start building a product from scratch? What will be the first essential step?
My initial step is always the same. It's what kind of pain points are you trying to solve? What is the problem? The second bit is, once you find the pain points, you need to understand is this actually viable or not? Can this actually be turned into a business? Because frankly, you may be able to solve pain points. If no one's willing to pay for them, that means it's actually not that valuable.
How to do it?
Okay. And you first of all is you need to go through these steps. That's kind of first find the pain points, talk to people and understand, I see clearly you have a problem here. Yep, I have a problem. Great. Would you pay for this? How much would you pay to have this fixed? And then you gauge the interest, because you at least know more or less if people will be willing to pay or not. That doesn't mean they will pay, because it's only when you put it out there, that's when you build your MVP, that you can infer if people are actually willing to pay. Because look, you can build a great product. If people are not paying for it, you haven't reached product market fit. That's just what it is. The true testament is when people are paying for it. So in a way, is be careful also not to make your product look, that is too free, because there's a psychological perception that if something is free, that is probably not very valuable.
Right. Because
good things cost money. And no one's ever argued against paying for something, provided that it gives you enough value. It's just about that. It's about is he actually giving value? So that's why, in my product, the first campaign is for free, and then after that you need to pay. Because if you find value in the first one, sure, they're going to continue. And if they don't, then I need to figure that out. Why? Is it price is too high? Is it you just don't, what kind of things you think are missing? So it gives you space to inquire and understand, why are people not willing to pay more for it? But the paying bit is very important. If people are not paying for it, you just got an idea. I think the other thing too that I want to mention is, and I tell this to founders all the time, when they come in and say, oh, we need to sign an NDA because I want to tell you about my idea. And I chuckle a bit with that because like I tell this to founders all the time is ideas everyone has. There's loads of ideas in the world. And to be honest, these days it's kind of hard to find an idea that hasn't been thought of before. The thing that really distinguishes a good product from not is the execution. So how well does it feel? Does it feel good to use? In my case, do musicians understand? Do they get it? Because ideas, I bet someone can go and copy AdsForBands and do their own thing, I'm sure. But, ultimately the model is my secret sauce. And again, the story does count a lot. Is the fact that I am a musician, I sold out shows. It's not anyone else. That counts a lot because it brings credibility to say, oh, okay, well, actually, this was built by a musician. I'll probably want to choose AdsForBands over another platform. But ultimately, does it feel good? Is it simple enough? And I always have that very much into mind whenever I'm building something. So I obsess quite a lot about, I love design and I love industrial design and digital design, and I always obsess quite a lot about it. I'm like, no, it's not simple enough. Needs to be simpler. So I try never to bloat UIs and stuff like that with loads of information. That's just the thing. Well, the more features I put, the more information I display, the better. But it's not. It's like, are you actually surfacing the right information? Do people get it? So that would be my advice. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fact that your product is built for musicians by a touring musician, I think it's the best selling point. It's the best story you could ever tell about such a solution for bands, for musicians. I wonder, and I've been to your shows before. I know that the clubs are packed. I wonder, when is your next show?
My next show is going to be in February in the UK. That's mostly where we play. Actually this year we played in Belgium, which was awesome. It's kind of like our first international show. So we're going to be playing at the 1865 in Southampton. It's a good venue. It's about 1,000 people. It's going to sell out because it sells out every year, which is awesome. But this year is going to be a big one for us because the venues are massive. And, part of me is scared about it, but excited at the same time. It's a big step for the band. But this is the great thing is it's only going to help me reinforce what I'm doing with my product. It's like, okay, let's see what works, what doesn't. I'm not saying that what you have right now in the model is perfect. I will need to constantly adapt it. My promise is that it will always be made basically by someone that truly understands the music industry. And you are right, the story does count a lot. I was in 3 weeks ago or so, I was in Liverpool. I went to the Music Futures event. Shout out to Pete Downton for bringing me there. It was great being surrounded by all these people from the music industry. And, the minute I told the story about AdsForBands, they just get it. They're like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is literally what the industry has been crying for, but no one has done it. But they were just really especially, enthusiastic for the fact that, oh, it's an actual musician. Because it's rare, it's rare. And then since then, I actually found quite a few other technologists and musicians. There's a few out there. You just have to find them. They're a bit hidden. But yeah, they just love the story. And I think that counts a lot. And I already knew it before, but I think being there, being surrounded by people from the music industry and telling the story, that's when I realized, wow, storytelling is a thing. But storytelling that people know it's real. It's not fabricated. When you kind of get excited about something and you tell it to people get it. So, I'm a terrible salesperson, but then, people tell, no, you're a great salesperson. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, it's maybe just because I'm selling something that I believe, that I know it works, and it's built with passion, I guess. So I think, passion counts a big deal to this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I really look forward to seeing the official launch of AdsForBands.
Yes, me too. Yeah, I need to work on that. There's a lot of marketing that needs to happen. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I still want to do my fractional consultancy too, because that's what I'm saying is I try to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing different things. Like, why should I just do one? And maybe AdsForBands will really take off massively, and that will just occupy my whole time. Maybe I wouldn't mind that, to be honest. But like this that we're doing right now is just so nice, just chatting and talking not just about my career, but ultimately about subjects that are so important to talk about, and to really try to bring more awareness about how the industry is going to be shaped, how AI is going to play such a big part of it. So I just like doing different things, I guess. I think the more you age, the more you kind of get into that mode of trying different things and just having fun. That's really what you have to do.
Absolutely. Well, Raf, thank you so much for joining me today. It was exciting to hear about your journey and your vision on how the industry is shaping.
Thank you so much, George. I really appreciate your invitation. I'm really excited in working with pro coders very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And it was great meeting you here in Lisbon. And I hope we can do this more often. And I'm sure this new iteration of your podcast can be a massive success. So just keep on doing it. And I look forward to further episodes from other product leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Raf. Thank you so much for being my first guest in this Backstage Tech podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.